Hello and welcome to our very, very short course on using the head probe. You'll hear this kind of rattling around. The way it's made is there's a little hole in there and they put a little hook, but it came out, so it doesn't work so well. You're probably used to seeing these in yellow, and we do have the yellow ones, but they're out in the field right at the moment, so we have these black ones too. You can actually make your own implements, but I don't recommend it. We actually bought these from another manufacturer because the yellow ones, the kind of traditional official ones, these are official, they're made to the specifications, but the official ones were all sold out when we needed another set. So you do have the option to get these from anywhere. They just need to be designed to the specifications in the ASTM standard and CPSC Handbook 325. So we're going to start with this head probe. The idea here is that this head probe is going to measure any entrapment hazards where the child's body will pass through an enclosed portion of the playground, but the head will not. And when the child is very young, the head is much larger than what? That's right, than their body. So the head is kind of huge and the body's kind of small, so the body will slip through certain areas, but the head will not. So this is used in conjunction with our torso probe, and we will be looking at this in another video. But the idea here is that our head probe is going to measure the basic smallest 5-year-old and the largest 12-year-old. And the idea here is that if the torso goes through, the head must also follow through. So let me say that one more time. If the torso goes through, the head must go through. If the torso does not go through, then it's okay. The head will not go through either. It will be blocked because the torso is much smaller than the head probe, okay? So what we're gonna do is make sure that we have the ability to do one of two things. Either the head probe needs to go all the way through, or the torso probe needs to be blocked. So what are we gonna measure? We're gonna measure actual bounded. So there's two types of opening. There are unbounded, which is what our fish probe is going to be used for, and then there are bounded, and that means that it's fully enclosed. So if we actually take a look at this fish probe, we'll see here that this opening is fully bounded. Right now, don't get confused, we're still on the head probe, but we're looking for a bounded opening, and that means that it's enclosed on all sides. So if it's a circle, that means that it's a full connected circle. If it is a square, there's 4 sides that are all connected. If it is a rectangle, it is 4 sides that are all connected. A parallelogram, 4 sides all connected. Triangle, 3 sides all connected. The idea here is, again, that it is a bounded opening. Basically, there's a hole punched into something and it can trap the individual child. Okay, so our head probe has a little bit of a design here. I'm not sure if we can really see this quite well, but the basic premise is here that it is slanted. Maybe if we look at it this way, we can see that it kind of tapers in. And the idea is this is replicating the size of that minimum 5-year-old, maximum 12-year-old head. And if you look, kind of covers my head. I guess I have a small head, but bottom line here is this must pass all the way through the opening. If it gets stopped through our bounded opening, then it fails, and that creates an entrapment. So the child's torso, the body will move through the opening, and the head will get stuck. And that's a real problem because that creates an entanglement hazard. And what happens is, especially if it's at elevation, the child may pass through the opening and then get stuck, not be able to pull their head out, and then they hang and strangulate and die. And so what we're trying to avoid is those deaths. The basic premise here is very simple. If the torso moves through, the head must move through. Basically, the entire body needs to move through the bounded opening. The bounded opening is, again, connected on all sides. And really, that's simple, right? The whole person must move through the opening. No part of the body should get stuck on this opening. And again, it must pass through here all the way to the tip, right? All the way to the tip. So if at any part it gets stuck, if it gets stuck here where my finger is, that's a fail. If it gets stuck here, that's a fail. If it gets stuck here, that's a fail, right? So if this torso poke moves all the way through, the head must move all the way through that opening. So we'll look at Joan and Jamie out here in the field, actually testing these particular areas and really pushing this through. Now, the head probe is also capable of testing kind of rigid bounded openings and flexible bounded openings. So if you see your 3D net climbers, right, are those rope climbers where it looks like a rope ladder that you see in the military. This actually has to go through that too, but you're allowed to apply a little bit of force to it to make it pull all the way through. And the idea there is that our rigid bound openings are not going to be flexible. They're not going to give. They're not going to open up at all, but our flexible ones will. And so it's good to have a push-pull meter. So that's what these are designed. There's a little hook that kind of like an eye hook that hangs down here, and you're able to then pull this through and make sure that you have the right amount of pressure. As a certified playground safety inspector, that's all fine. You can do all of that. You can measure the pressure, but I don't even rely on that. If I can't just simply slide this through, it's a fail for me. And I think you should fail it too. And just know that, this should just slip right through. It should just go right through our opening. If it doesn't, if there's that much pressure that you have to actually pull with 50 pounds of force, then it is really, in my opinion, not worth it, right? Because the child may actually panic and not really wiggle themselves through. So just look at those openings. If it fails, if it's very close, then I would write it up and have it looked at by your maintenance people, and there might be a slight adjustment that can be made to allow that to pass through. So that is our head probe, and it goes in conjunction with our torso probe, and if you see, it just kind of moves like this. All right, thank you very much. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comments. We'll shoot you back the answer. Make sure you read your CPS Handbook 325 and your ASTM standards, and you should be good to go. It's a very, very simple test.